how do you get what are the two big words? Active support. How do you get the active support of your boss? You find out what's important to them and make it important to you. Now, you don't have to go back and announce that. You don't even have to go back and share that secret with everybody else. You could actually be a little bit diplomatic about it and maybe have a lunch with the boss, or maybe just try to find out in some way, without being quite so obvious, what your intentions are, what's important to them, and then set your priorities based on that. But that's how to have their active support. When they see you're lined up with them, you will have their active support. You need to have your perception up as far as your internal and external peers to make sure that you are doing what you can to gain their active support. I'm going to give you here in just a few minutes some specific ways that you can secure the active support of your peers. And then for your direct reports, how do you get them to support you? Well, it's their job to do that. Unfortunately, employee engagement is one of the number one or top 5 hot buttons that are going on today. People sometimes show up for work their first day and they're excited, not do anything for the company, and after a few weeks or a few months of being there and being put down and realizing what the company culture really is, they have just reverted to punch in, punch out, and they have checked out. Employee engagement. So if you feel like your direct reports are with you 100%, that's great. But to really know that they're engaged, they need to understand that you're trying to help them to move up in the company by developing them into a self-reliant team where they're moving up the freedom scale, and that's going to help them to get promotion. And as they push up, it's going to push you up as well. And by the way, you can teach them these things. You can be open with them and say, look, you keep asking what to do. Right now, I want you to just take some project. Maybe it's a lower priority one. I want you to bring me some recommendations. You see, the staff ought to be selling the boss on stuff. The boss doesn't always have to be selling the people on things. If you're always selling your staff, something's wrong. Like, okay guys, look, this is what we need to do. This is really important. You can do this. That's wrong. If it has to be that way right now, fine. But consider that a temporary situation. Try to teach and train your people to look around and to come up with some recommendations and to bring them to you and to sell you on it. Just think, wouldn't that be fantastic if your staff was coming up with ideas, looking at the pain, looking at the problems, trying to develop solutions, and you teach them how to move up the freedom scale. Teach them these 4 things: to research a situation and bring you options, and then make a recommendation about which one of those options they think would be the best. And then if you push back, tell them to be ready to sell. Have them sell you. And you will start to build a self-reliant staff that is going to make managing so much better. Remember the old adage, it's either hire smart or manage tough. Well, even if you didn't quite hire so smart, just even with the staff you have, that's a simple way to mentor them. And when you do that, you will start to get their active support, and it's going to make your management life so much easier. So give them direction and support. Don't feel like you're all the time in front of them, just pulling them like a guy pulling an ox or something that won't move. If that's the way you feel, life is going to be rough for you as a manager. What you want to do instead is find a way to give them this this dream within the company that they actually can move up. It's one of the greatest things companies do when they provide a way for people to move up within the organization. And then once they have that self-motivation, that drive, that self-reliance to bring you ideas and research things and come up with options and make recommendations and sell you on it, then they just become like wild stallions under control. So you're not in front pulling them, you're just sitting back there in the chariot and they're already driving, and all you've got to do is just kind of steer them. And life is great that way because you have their active support. Alright, so there's some core things about team building. There's you here, the boss, the peers, the direct reports. 2 big words are active support. Do you remember 5 dysfunctions of the team. Do you remember the one on the very bottom? The foundation of it all was building trust. And after you have that trust, then you can express different opinions because you don't have a fear of conflict. Then there's a commitment that you make to it, accountability, and the bottom line is results. Because results are really what matter to a company, isn't it? So how are you going to get there? Get the active support of the people around you. That's just a foundation to team building. There's much more coming up, including the specific ways that you can work with your internal and external peers and help to acquire their active support for things that you're doing. And we'll look forward to working on that together with you in just a few minutes. Any questions now that we can answer about this? Was this helpful? Do you think you can go back to the company, to your department, to your unit, and put some of these things in force to apply some of these principles? Did that help? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about your situation. Find out how maybe you can apply these things to your unique situation. Okay? So let's think about it. Any questions now? Because we want to make this as practical as we possibly can. We want to take it from theory into practice. So, okay? Yes. What's your situation? First, thank you for having the courage to talk about that. That's a great sign of trust that you're willing to do that. And what's your first?